well, I'm not getting the vaccine, right? That most people are like, I don't want to do it. I don't. But then you have these situations. And so, for example, my wife's sister lives in Puerto Rico. She doesn't have many job opportunities. She's worked at the same job for the last 10 plus years. And she can't just quit that job and go to another one because there's just not opportunity. Well, they want her to get the vaccine. And so I'm like, babe, you can't let her do that. We got to figure out a way to get this so that she doesn't get it. And she's like, I know, but listen, people are being pressured into this. People are being duped into this. So can we go down the path a little bit of like, how do we get to where we don't have to? And I have a couple ideas I want to bounce off of you, but I'm interested if you have any ideas because you've been working with the legal team for a while now. What are some legal things that I could do to not take the vaccine? And then let's start hypothesizing, like what can we come up with that people could say in the future to try to avoid this?
Well, first of all, if your employer is telling you that you have to take the shot or be fired, please reach out to me because that's a great lawsuit. And it's a perfect segue for me to explain that for the last year, so I made, the documentary on vaccines, and I've been studying the whole vaccine issue for 20 years. And at the beginning of last year, when this whole thing came out, I could see where it was going. I said to my husband in January, oh, they're starting this in China because they're going to have China show the world how to do it, how to lock down. And then, within a week or so, they were saying it's on paper money. The virus lives for 9 days or 14 days, or I heard 23 days on paper currency. And the reason they're saying all this is because in the background, there's a massive financial crisis going on in the world. And people don't realize it, but it's really, especially in Europe. And they're using this as cover to conduct what they call the Great Reset, which is to reset our economies. And what they're going to do is they're going to convert all paper money to digital money because then they have more control. So for the last year, I have been, just want you to understand that for the last year, when this all started coming out, I was like, I could see where it was going. And I just felt called to do something about it. And what I decided I would do is start a nonprofit, and it's called Health Freedom Defense Fund, healthfreedomdefense.org. And an amazing lawyer, constitutional expert, was brought into my life a little more than a year and a bit ago. And I started talking to him through some business dealings that I had with him. And he didn't know anything about the vaccine issue. I started telling him all about it. And he was like, this is wrong. I said, yes, it is. You can't sue them. They have no liability. They don't use proper placebos, on and on and on. And he looked into it, and then he started calling me and saying, somebody should do something about this. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. And that's you and me. And so I founded Health Freedom Defense Fund. And all last year, or for a good chunk of last year, at least the entire second half of last year, we were drafting legal complaints against vaccine mandates for COVID, whether it comes from a business entity or a governmental entity. And so I actually want a business or a government to mandate the vaccine because then I can sue them. So
yes,
I mean, please, please, please. I'm like, bring it on. Let's do this. So basically,
healthfreedomdefense.org.
Healthfreedomdefense.org, and you can contact me through that form. Just says contact on there, so that people know. Excuse me, one sec.
So for those of you guys watching right now, let's be super clear on what just got said. If your employer says you need to get the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, in order to work here, you say, oh, okay. And then you get on healthfreedomdefense.org, contact Leslie, and let's put together a lawsuit and sue the shit out of them. I mean, stuff out of them.
Yes, I already have the lawsuit ready. We have the template already ready. We just need to tailor it to the existing state and whatever the statutes are for that state.
Bang, bang.
Okay, so we are literally locked and ready to go. Okay, we are ready to go. And
so what about military?
Because we need plaintiffs. What we need are plaintiffs. And yes, absolutely military, veterans, anybody. I mean, the only constraint will be that I don't have the money to sue, 20 different entities. So we're going to take the strongest case that we have. But what's really important for people to understand is that these vaccines have not been FDA approved. They have been authorized, and being authorized is different than FDA approved and licensed. When the FDA gives approval to something, it's called licensure. This is authorization under the emergency use authorization. Okay, and that is facilitated on the basis of the PrEP Act, which was declared last year by the president. And the PrEP Act was actually signed into place in 2005 in response to the supposed anthrax scare, which we later found out was perpetrated by some insiders. One might call it a false flag. So what happened was that laid the groundwork for what's been happening in the last year, in that in the event of a disease outbreak, which is deemed an epidemic or a pandemic, it accords a huge amount, in fact, pretty much dictatorial power to certain governmental entities like the health department and governors. And so basically what's happened is these people now have these unbelievable power to tell you that you have to mask and distance and all these things, stay home. And it also provided immunity to any products, medical products that are created or utilized during the epidemic. So that's where we are. So these vaccines have been authorized under the EUA. They are not FDA approved. And under the EUA, it is imperative that people understand that voluntary consent and the possibility, the right to refuse is literally in federal law. So you are protected, the right to refuse it is actually in the federal code. It's really important to understand this.
Time out. Need to dwell on this for a second.
They don't have a leg to stand on to authorize it. So we can take them down so easily.
Whether you are a healthcare professional, which are a lot of the people that are being damaged right now, whether you are military or you are a private citizen working in a company, you have a voluntary right to take the vaccine, but you are not mandated. They can't make you do it while it's underneath the Emergency Authorization Act.
Correct.
Now, if and when, because I'm sure it's only a matter of time, if and when it becomes FDA approved or whatever that stamp of approval they need or they're waiting on, once that happens, does that eliminate that layer of defense?
Yes.
So at that point, once it becomes FDA approved, then an employer could potentially tell me that I have to take it or hit the road.
No.
Okay.
What it does is there's still many lines of argument. And so it's just that it is a rifle shot right now to take them down. If they try to mandate it now, they don't have a legal leg to stand on. That's what I'm saying, okay, under the emergency use authorization. Once FDA approves it, and make no mistake, this whole, review process and all these things, right? These committee meetings, it's a rubber stamp. It's not a true review process. But once that happens, we still have much potential to attack any mandates. And so don't think that just because the FDA is approving it and then a employer or a governmental agency or a governmental body mandates it, that is legal. It's not. And there are many, many attacks. I don't want to go into the whole legal argument for it right now because I don't want to, share our whole analysis. But we still think we have an extremely strong case.